Hello everybody, welcome back to another yapping video here. In this video, we are going to talk about monetization on MapleStory. I want to give you guys my perspective on it, what sort of actions I'm personally going to take, and what I think solutions for what I think the issues are. So sit back and relax and listen to what I have to say, because I think this is a video that is very important to make, even if you might not necessarily agree with every single point. I think it's a very good discussion to have, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments. Again, I want to give you a friendly reminder that we don't have to get mad at each other or be crazy in the comments. I do read all the comments as well, so I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, I want to mention, if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. It helps out a lot. I have a lot of very useful videos on my channel that you could gain a ton of information from. And also pull up to the live stream where you can come hang out, and also join the Discord where you could join the community. So the first thing that I want to mention is that I am not a doomer, and this is not a doomer type video. This is just a discussion and my thoughts on the topic and why I think this is a pretty big issue and can also lead to really bad monetization decisions in the future if the community is not aware about it. So I'm just going to do my part and give you my thoughts on it. I'm not going to be quitting this game or stopping making content or anything crazy like that. So let's get right into it. The first thing that I want to talk about is MapleStory has different parts to it. It's a really big game, and talking about different parts of the game is important. Now, for me, I like to categorize the game into three main sections: progression, monetization, and service. Now, what do these things mean? So progression is stuff like hyperburns, 6th job coming out, new classes coming out, hyperburn max, item burning, all these different things that give you power and make you stronger and level you up faster, and how the game has gotten easier over the years. For example, hitting level 275 back in like 2020 was much harder than hitting 275 today, right? The standards go up, the progression gets faster and faster, quality of life increases, stuff like that. And for me, this aspect of the game has been getting a lot better, like much better. The game is much more enjoyable to play now in terms of progression and bossing and stuff like that. That's not what I'm talking about here. The other part of the game is service. So what I mean by service is stuff like maintenances, stuff like the community managers talking to us, stuff like Nexon, removing the Steam market, all these things, like things from the company itself on how they handle MapleStory, how fast we get patches from Korea, custom patches like Ride or Die, stuff like that. That's all service. And I think in some ways it's getting better, and in some ways it's getting worse. But that's not what I'm talking about either. If you want a video on progression or service, like my thoughts on those things, definitely let me know. What I really want to focus on is monetization, the way that Nexon has decided to make money off of the players, because at the end of the day, they got to make money to keep the game going, to keep the company going, all that stuff. And there's many different ways to make money, and I want to really focus on that part of this game. Now, I know it's already been like probably a few minutes of the video and we haven't really talked about much, but I do think that this foundation is really important to set, because every time I talk about this type of conversation on my stream, I will always get people that talk about how MapleStory is getting easier. I have nothing to complain about. The game used to be so much worse. What are you talking about? But all those people are just talking about progression. They're just talking about progression. I'm not talking about progression. I'm specifically talking about monetization. People will go so far as to say, it's a free-to-play game. What do you have to complain about? You have no right to complain about anything. It's free. You could just not play it anymore. I don't think that's a valid response either. I think that's really stupid. And obviously, all of these things combined are what make MapleStory the game that we all love or hate, but we still play. What do you think of my slime drawing? So in my opinion, I think monetization on this game has gotten much worse over the last few years, and it's heading down a path where it can get really dangerous, and it's a slippery slope, and I'll explain why. So first of all, let's start with Vak Pets. So Vak Pets, we all know them. We all know how important they are to the game. Basically, it's a pet that costs about $100. You could discount it, and if you want to keep using it, you're going to have to keep reviving it after 90 days, and then whenever you revive it, it lasts for 30 days, and the revive costs around $14 to $15. Now, all of these can be discounted by 30%, so the Vak Pet will cost around $70, and the revive will cost around $10. Now, this item is so important towards your progression that if you were to ask any active Mapler, they would pretty much all tell you that this is a mandatory item to play this game and to progress. It's to the point that almost every single day I get asked questions around Vak Pet. When is Vak Pet going to come back? How do I discount it? Do you know when they typically release? Something along those lines, because of how impactful this item is. It's to the point that MapleStory, the game itself, is designed around having these Vak Pets. If you look at the map layouts for any map that has a really good spawn rate, typically 18k plus, you're pretty much always going to need a Vak Pet to properly loot these maps. Now, I have regular pets on this character. I don't have any Vak Pets. Now, can you imagine me trying to loot this map and trying to get every single piece of meso on the ground? It's going to be a lot harder, and it's going to require so much effort. Now, it's not impossible. It's not technically impossible. You can find maps where looting is easier, but it's still going to require a lot of effort compared to Vak Pet, and you're most likely not going to get the same rates as somebody who has a Vak Pet. That's just the truth, because there are certain edge cases where you can get away with not having one, but ultimately you will put in way more effort, and it's going to make the game way harder for you. Every single person that I've met that didn't have a Vak Pet and wanted to play this game completely free to play and progress as far as possible, when they did ultimately get a Vak Pet, they all said that they regretted not getting one earlier. So the point that I'm trying to make is Nexon has created a system where the solution is you have to buy it, right? Now, this is nothing new, but we're just getting started here. Vak Pet is essentially the price to play MapleStory. I would go so far as to say that this is not a free-to-play game. It's actually closer to something like Final Fantasy XIV, where Final Fantasy XIV has a trial, and the trial is very extensive. You can get a lot of the game, do a lot of the raids and bosses and stuff like that through the trial. But ultimately, if you want to play the full game and get the full experience, you have to pay for it every single month, similar to a Vak Pet, where if you don't have the Vak Pet, technically you could play the game and progress and get pretty far, but ultimately you're going to really want one, and you're going to have to pay for it every single month. Now, what they did recently is during the Stargazer patch, they made it so that Vak Pet can only be purchased on the Challenger worlds. This is how they released them initially. Now, why is this such a bad thing? Somebody like me who already has pre-established characters that have Vak Pets because I've been playing for years, I would look at this and think, wow, they're really trying to juice me out of an extra Vak Pet. Because the Challenger's world is a whole different world, if I wanted to actually play on it and progress on it, I would have to buy a Vak Pet again, even though I already have Vak Pets on the world that I play on. So they're trying to juice players into buying more than what they might already have anyways. Like, I already have Vak Pets, but because I want to play on the Challengers world and progression is so annoying without it, then you're gonna feel like you have to buy another one. Also, if you're a new player, this is going to force you onto the Challengers world, even if you don't necessarily want to. Now, the Challengers world is good, obviously, but if you don't want to play on it, like maybe you're a returning player and you don't necessarily want to use it, you're gonna be pretty much forced to, if you don't have a Vak Pet, because that's the only way to get one. And then what do they turn around and do? After July 16th, when the Challenger World Vak Pet is gone, they just re-release Vak Pet anyways on the regular world. So it's kind of like a spin in the face, where they put you in a position where you feel like you're forced to buy one, and then after that, they just re-release it again so you could buy it again, because they're hoping that at this point, after a month and a half of playing this game, maybe you got more into it. Maybe you're going to want to play more characters. And at some point, you're going to go to a regular world. So you're going to want a regular Vak Pet, maybe for your second Hyperburn or for a different character. So it's just kind of like, come on, bro. Like, you really want us to buy this thing very badly. But like I said, we're just getting started. At the end of the day, this is just one of many things that Nexon has created to almost forcibly extract money from you. Now, again, people always love to say, you could just not buy it. You could just not buy it. But the point that I'm trying to make is they create scenarios where you're almost forced to buy these things to play the game. And it's very predatory in my opinion. The next thing that I want to talk about is Luxana and the concept of the Luxana. So it started off with something called Tyrobot's Playground. This was at the beginning of the year on January 15th. And if you don't know what the Luxana is, it's basically a room that you could just stand in and AFK, and you get a lot of XP. You don't get a little bit of XP, you get a lot of XP for AFKing in this room. Using it is actually extremely beneficial towards your progression. Now, it started off with Tyrobot's Playground, which is exactly the same as Luxana in our previous event. And you were able to buy up to 12 hours of Tyrobot's Playground, aka Luxana, per week. So it costed around $36 a week if you wanted to max it. Now, again, like people always say, oh, but you don't have to buy it, right? True, that's true. You don't have to buy it, but another thing that has been becoming a normal thing on MapleStory is if you have money, your progression will be much faster than somebody who doesn't have money. And this has never been a thing in the heroic world before. There was a time where in the heroic world's reboot, it was pretty much the same for everybody. The only difference is where if somebody was like MVP status and they were able to get more MVPs than somebody who wasn't MVP. Now, obviously that is a difference, but it wasn't a huge difference. It's getting to the point where if you have money and you spend on this game $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $200 a month, whatever it is, you will make significant gains and be stronger than somebody who doesn't have money. And I personally think that's an issue for the heroic worlds. They're going about monetization through progression. Now, there are other ways to go through monetization, and there are other ways to go about it with progression, but it's getting to the point where it's getting egregious. Like, if you spend money on progression, you will become way stronger and progress way faster than somebody who doesn't spend money on progression. And it gets even worse. We'll keep talking about this. So 12 hours, 3K Maple points each hour, right? $36 per week to max this out. Now, if you want to know how good this is, I'll tell you how good it is. Let's say you started at level 260 and you want to hit level 275. You just finished your hyper burning and you're level 260. If you press calculate here on this website, it'll show that it takes around 236 hours of sitting in that AFK room to hit level 275. So keep that in mind, 236 hours, right? And then you'll hit level 275. So this is just purely from AFKing and spending money. Now you might think at first, whatever, 36K Maple points a week, 12 hours a week, you know, that's not going to get you to 275. It helps, but it doesn't help that much. Well, in the patch that we're in right now, they've upped the amount of hours that you can get per week. So now you could get 24 hours in 1 week. And if you remember, 236 hours to get to level 275, all of a sudden, now it's possible. Now you can AFK and hit level 275 just from AFK, right? You don't even have to play this game. You can hit 260 in like 1 day with hyper burning max and then just throw your wallet at the game and you're level 275 before the event even ends. Now, this doesn't include any of your daily XP, your training, your weeklies, any other event resources or anything like that. You can hit over 280 easily, right? If you pay money. And in the future in Korea, in our winter patch, what they got is they got 48 hours a week of Luxana. That's what's heading towards us. So it started with 12 hours, now it's at 24, and it's going to become 48 hours. Where is this going to lead in the future? 48 hours of AFKing a week that's available? You're not even going to have to train anymore. Like, that's just what it's going to become. That's what it seems like it's going to become, where you don't even have to train for XP anymore. You would only be training for other resources like frags, mesos, and whatever else, right? Now, I'm not sitting here saying that training is going to become irrelevant. Of course not. You're always going to have to train. You're always going to have to grind on this game. But this is also really useful for mules. People can have fully leveled Legion champions over level 280 or anything, or you can get your main past 290 or past 285 very easily with the Luxana as a bonus, right? The whole concept that I want you guys to understand is if you have money, you will progress much faster than somebody who doesn't have money. And again, this is something that has not been a thing in the heroic worlds or in the reboot worlds previously. This is a thing that has been emerging lately within the last couple years, where you can throw money at the game and become significantly stronger than other people. Even when you look at the event check-in rewards, how many Luxana tickets are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 Luxana tickets, so you can AFK for a total of 5 hours in there. They love to do this thing where they give you a taste of a premium service just so you get used to it and you are more likely to get into it because it does feel good. I'm somebody who has used the Luxana before and you get a lot of XP from it. You just leave your game on overnight, wake up, you're an extra level. That's just how it is. And it's really OP. Think about even the recent compensation that they gave us. They gave us a 30-day Vak Pet and 3 Luxana tickets. 2 items that are pretty much predatory to the game that make you really, really want to keep buying them. You get the 30-day Vak Pet and you're going to be like, damn, this is so broken. I have to buy it again when it comes out. Luxana, you try it, you get a decent amount of XP. You're like, man, and I could stay in here for 24 hours? I wonder how much it's going to be. You start looking at calculators and you start thinking like, hey, maybe you're level 270 and you're like, oh, how much is it going to be to get 275? Calculate 120 hours. That's not bad. That's like, 4 weeks of AFKing and all of a sudden I'm level 275. So they like to do these things where they just like kind of coerce you into buying their premium systems. And these premium systems are something that we haven't really seen in the heroic world before. Usually when they coerce you into buying something, maybe it's cosmetic or something like that. But now it's becoming a lot of progression. It's becoming strictly like tied to progression. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about, and in my opinion, this is the most egregious one out of all of them, is the SIA Premium Pass. Now, despite this only being 25k Maple points, so $25 US, the concept of the Premium Pass, in my opinion, is worse than everything else. The reason why is because they essentially made SIA borderline unplayable unless you buy this premium pass. So they're almost, now technically, like I always say, technically you don't have to buy this. You could still progress and have fun on SIA and everything like that, but it's going to be way harder unless you buy the premium pass. Now, in my opinion, I think this is just like a little taste of this idea. They haven't really done this before where they release a class and then they put a premium pass that makes the class playable. Now, I think as we get new classes, they're probably going to keep doing this and maybe increasing the cost, because that's what they did with previous things where initially it wasn't that expensive, but throughout the years, it gets more and more expensive. Now, the difference from the premium pass and no premium pass is huge. You get a title that gives you basically permanent MVP and lets you actually one-shot mobs with the normal damage. You get item burning at level 200, so you can actually like kill bosses and do this game properly. You get level 10 symbols, so your symbols level up way faster, and you get a ton of nodes. You get a massive amount of XP vouchers, so you don't even actually have to train that much. You could just use the XP vouchers to level up a tremendous amount. You get a level 5 sacred symbol, so that when you do get to level 260 and you get Sternum, you could actually continue to play the game and not suffer and like 50 shot mobs with no sacred force. You get Soul Urda, so you can unlock your mastery or whatever else you're trying to unlock. Basically, like you just get so much stuff. 30,000 XP vouchers, 20,000 XP vouchers. It's to the point that like if you're gonna play SIA and you don't buy the pass, you're trolling. And I think this concept is, again, can lead to a very slippery slope where you essentially suffer unless you buy the solution. Next up are the boss title packages and the XP title packages as well. So this is yet another thing that you can buy that gives you access to something that makes you stronger than everybody else. And you cannot get this unless you pay real money. So it's the same concept as I've been mentioning before. If you have money, you will be stronger and also progress faster than somebody who doesn't have money. And this was not a thing in the heroic / reboot worlds in the past. This is a thing now. So if you buy this boss title for $60, it lasts for 1 month and you get 40% bonus XP, 30% mobbing damage, and 30 attacks. So everybody always complains about, I can't one-shot. One-shot gets hard. I need more legion. I need more links and stuff like that. Well, here's a solution that can help you one-shot. You pay $60 for a month and you will get 30% normal damage and 40% bonus XP, which is actually really, really good. Next up, boss package red. You'll get 30 boss, 30 IAD, and 30 attack. 30 boss and 30 IAD. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the 4-set Golux effect, which also gives you 30 boss and 30 IAD. So if you're a new player watching this and you're like, damn, $60, I could get the 4-set Golux effect. 4-set Golux takes a bare minimum of 2 months to get. So you can accelerate that damage spike that you would get from Golux superior set immediately with a $60 package. And if you're somebody who's at the end game, you can get bonus stats to be stronger than everybody else. Let's say you're trying to prog a very hard boss like Hard Limbo and you're just right at the edge and you know that like maybe it would take like a familiar or maybe it would take just a little bit more to get you to become at that damage point. Well, you could also just spend $60 and you're there. Or maybe you're somebody who's really, really strong. You're already clearing everything in the game and you want to min-max your covert, you want to min-max your dojo or something like that. You would buy a boss title, right? So again, it's the concept of you are getting additional stats and progression that you could only get through paying for it. It wouldn't be an issue if you can get these stats through other ways, but because you have to pay for it and it's something above and beyond everybody else, it goes back to what I was saying. If you have money, you will progress faster than people who don't have money. Now, I also want to mention something that's very important that I didn't mention so far. Everything that we've talked about so far, SIA Premium Pass, Luxana, Vak Pets, all this stuff, all of this was actually even released on the Stargazer patch. So this is just within our one patch that we just had, which also goes to show Nexon's mindset. The people that run the show, what their mindset is. Their mindset is, we know a lot of people are playing, So let's monetize the fuck out of them. You know what I mean? Which definitely doesn't feel good. Let's take a second here and look at the Steam charts, which tells you how many people are playing MapleStory throughout the last 13 years since 2012. At this point right here in June 2025, this is the all-time high, the highest amount of people that have ever played this game in at least the last 13 years. And obviously MapleStory knows this. They know that the game population is increasing and that there's going to be a huge spike on that patch. So instead of making the decision of, we know there's a lot of people playing, maybe we should give them some extra free rewards because we're very grateful that a lot of people are playing and maybe it'll help them stick around. They in turn looked at it as, there's a lot of people playing, let's try to make as much money as possible from them and monetize the fuck out of their progression. That's just the truth. This isn't like a doomer perspective, in my opinion. This is what happened, literally. Anyways, let's continue. Next up, same thing. Rock Spirit's Golden Giveaway, $50 per pass. So $100 total if you want both of them. Now, you might look at this and think the rewards aren't too good, right? Transcendent Potion, Mag Pot, Growth Potions, Strawberry, stuff like that. Like, it's good stuff, obviously, if you buy it. But at the end of the day, you could get all of these things from other resources, from playing events. You could get Extreme Growth Potions, Strawberry Farms, Transcendent Pots, Mag Pots. You could just get these things from just playing the game, playing events. It's not anything extra that you can't get elsewhere. Now, what they did do that made it egregious is they added blue cards to these systems. So in a way, if you're an active player, the blue cards made it so that you can reroll your familiars. Now, this isn't as much of an issue as it was, so I got to give credit where credit's due. Because you can get fams in any region now, ultimately you don't really need blue cards. Obviously, they're still nice so that you can get custom familiars, but at the time when this released, there weren't familiars in all the regions, and blue cards were extremely valuable. So they put them in the system so that you're pretty much forced to buy it. It's the same idea. It's the same idea of what's a problem in the game, what's a solution that we have for it, and then let's paywall it. And if you don't buy this, then you won't have access to blue cards, and the people who buy it will have a advantage over other people. Now, this one isn't as bad because at the end of the day, blue cards are RNG, so it's not like a guaranteed advantage, just like how boss titles are. Like, this is a guaranteed advantage no matter what. Luxana, it's a guaranteed advantage no matter what. But I figured I would mention it. Next up, let's talk about monetization through cosmetics, because everything we've talked about so far, and the reason why I talked about those things first is because they affect progression, and it's something that we haven't really seen before on this game. We haven't seen them monetize progression so egregiously like they are now. And I think this is going to be a slippery slope where they're going to keep monetizing progression a lot, to the point that like people who spend money will be way stronger than people who don't. Like, it won't even be close. But let's talk about cosmetics. Now, at the end of the day, cosmetics are all optional, but I'm going to give you my perspective as somebody who does buy a lot of cosmetics, because I think this is also important, because there might be some whales that are watching this video and, you know, maybe you also like buying cosmetics on this game. And I'm going to tell you why I think buying cosmetics on this game is nowhere near as valuable as it used to be, and you probably shouldn't buy cosmetics anymore, in my opinion. Now, the first thing is they create color prisms. Now, color prisms are a way that you can dye certain pieces of gear on your account, right? And these color prisms are something that we've wanted for a very, very, very long time. But the way that they created them for us is they made them not only way more expensive, they created a shit one that RNG rerolls your colors. Whereas in the Korean version of the game, when the color prisms came out, it's 5.9 KNX and it can be discounted, and that's it. And you could buy it at any time you want, and it's really cheap, and you could dye your gear. And this is what we expected to get because that's what Korea got. And this was just how it was. And this is a really, really good change for them. But for us, they made it so that the only way that you can get them is by either opening Mythic Star boxes, which I have a video about, which I think these are like the worst thing they've ever created in terms of cosmetics. These are super expensive. Each box costs around $60. The only way to get it is either you open a Mythic Star box, right? And you have a chance to get the color prism, the premium one, and then you could dye whatever you want. So it's at least $60 to buy one. Or you can re-roll the NX you get from the Mythic Star boxes into Mythic Star stamps, and then turn those stamps, these ones, the star stamps, into a color prism. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I have a Mythic Star stamp right here. This is for demonstration purposes. I don't buy these. I just have this to specifically show you how this works so you don't do it. Okay, I want to make that absolutely clear. So you have a star stamp. When you click on it, what can you do with it? You can either buy a Mythic Star style box with 20 of these stamps, and you get these stamps from opening regular premium surprise style boxes and then turning the items you don't want into stamps. Or you can buy a regular color prism with 5 stamps. So you would have to buy 5 regular boxes, which is around $16, to buy one RNG color prism. So instead of paying $5.9 like in Korea to dye your gear anything you want with control, you have to pay at least $15 to $16 to get an RNG color prism. So they over tripled the price and to give you an RNG one. If you want to get the one that you can actually choose what colors you want, you have to buy the Mythic Star style box and actually roll for it. It's not a guaranteed chance to get it. It's a pretty high chance, 40%, but at the end of the day, it's going to cost way more. So getting the color prisms at minimum costs $15, $16. And if you want the premium one, at minimum, it costs $60. So it's way, way, way more expensive. On top of that, what they changed with these stamps is your old items that you were able to stamp into these original style box stamps. Any new premium surprise style boxes after June 25th cannot be turned into these old ones. So now all of your entire old catalog of NX is slowly becoming more and more worthless. In the past, you would buy premium surprise style boxes, and in the back of your mind, you knew at the end of the day, I could turn it into a stamp and maybe I could get some value out of my old NX. But now it's becoming essentially worthless, where they're basically trying to tunnel you into buying Mythic Star boxes as much as possible by making old box items less valuable and making it so that if you want to get the color prisms, you have to get it through the star stamps, which basically forces you to buy the new ones. And again, I think this is just like very predatory, and it just shows that they don't respect their long-time NX spenders, as cringe as that might sound. Now, if you don't believe me, think about the Steam market being closed. If you didn't know, there was a Steam market for MapleStory where you could trade NX items. This just pretty much randomly just ended. They just closed it and made it so that you can't buy anything, you can't list anything, and once August 27 hits, it's over. Like, that's it. The Steam market goes away and you can't trade items. The Steam market was literally the best thing they have ever added to this game, straight up, because it made it so that NX was accessible, cosmetics were accessible to everybody, no matter where you were from. But now, because they closed it, if you want to get really premium NX, instead of being able to buy it and trade it off others, you are pretty much forced to buy Mythic Star boxes. Not to mention, these Mythic Star boxes are set up in seasons as well. So if you don't buy this stuff, this is the season 1 stuff, you're probably never going to be able to get it again. So there's like a FOMO aspect to it. And on top of that, these stamps, you won't even be able to use them on future seasons. So if you have excess, it's just going to become junk. So it kind of like forces you to keep buying until you hit what you want, so you don't have excess. So when I look at this as somebody who buys cosmetics, it just feels very disrespectful, because it's like you're just trying to extract as much as possible. You're trying to limit as many options as possible from us in the heroic world, and it just doesn't feel good. It's like, why would I just keep spending money on this? I'd rather spend money on something else that I can use for all my characters in whatever other game, or just save it. Like, you know what I mean? I'd rather just not do this because they're making the value of my items lower. Now, this one is, it might sound pretty silly, and I think some people watch this video are gonna laugh because it's like, now you're just complaining just to complain, but just hear me out on this one. And I want you to try your best to understand my perspective. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at New Age tickets. Now, these tickets are something that they have reintroduced into the game, usually 1 or 2 times a year. And how these tickets work is if you buy a set of surprise style boxes, so for example, this New Age Black Friday surprise style box, a set of it costs 28.5k NX. And if you buy a set, you'll get 1 ticket. So not only do you get the 10 boxes that you can open to RNG, get whatever cosmetics you want, you also get a ticket. And if you save up those tickets, you can get a super premium set of cosmetics or a super premium hair. And this is how it's always been all the time. Now, again, at the end of the day, you don't have to buy this or anything like that, right? This doesn't matter that much, but I want to tell you something that they did that, in my opinion, makes it very clear that you shouldn't buy anything super premium ever from this game ever again. One of the things that you can get from these tickets are super premium hairs. So Quiet Bob hair, Dark Hushy hair, like all these types of hairs, Bling Festival hair, Bling Blay hair. These hairs, you cannot get them through regular royals or any other method. For years and years and years, it has always been this way. You cannot get these hairs through any other method. This is the only way to get them. So therefore, it makes it so that these hairs and these NX items are inherently very valuable because you can't even put them on the Steam market. back when the Steam market was the thing, you couldn't even put them on the Steam market. So this is like the only way. Like this Venus set, if you wanted this, you had to really wail for it. What they ended up doing is this premium hair that costed 16 tickets, aka $450. They just put it in a regular royal. This one over here. So when I look at this, I think like this just completely devalues anybody who spent money on these tickets, because if they're willing to put a item that costed 16 tickets in a regular royal and everybody can get it for $3.50 now, then you got basically tricked into spending way more money than you should have. Anybody who ever in the future thinks about buying these ticket items, now the advice is don't even think about buying it, even if you're a whale, because they have shown previously that they're willing to just re-release the hair for a lot cheaper just to make a little bit more money. Because let's say this hair wasn't in the royals, let's be honest here, a lot of these other hairs aren't that good, they probably wouldn't have made that much money. But because this hair, which is a very expensive hair, is in the royals, they probably made a lot of money off of these royals, right? So this part of the video, I'm talking to like the whales who spend a lot of money on this game. What's the point? You know what I mean? They're just going to re-release your hair anyways, or something like that in a cheaper way in the future. You're not getting something as valuable as you might think. Now, I mentioned at the start of the video that I had some ideas for some sort of solutions for this. Now, obviously Nexon has to make money. They're of course going to monetize this game. That's not surprising. Most people play on the heroic world, so they're going to have to monetize it to keep growing, right? I'm not complaining that they're monetizing the game specifically. I'm complaining that they're monetizing the game through the means of progression over everybody else. Now, if they did progression monetization that was just a little bonus thing and not something that's like that powerful, then it'd be more okay. But what I think they need to do is they need to hone in on monetization through aesthetics and cosmetics. That way it doesn't affect your progression at all. Now you might be thinking like, isn't that what they're doing with the mythic star boxes? No, the mythic star boxes are very egregious. Now what I think they should do is they should make more lower cost stuff that the average person will buy. But for them, it probably is too much work. It's so easy for them to just be like, pay $50, here's some mag pots, and you're done, right? And they make like infinite money from doing that. But I mean, I'm just gonna say it anyways, like I doubt this will happen, but I would love it if they made things that were, let's say, like UI skins, right? Like UI skins per class. Maybe there was a UI skin that costed like $20 and there's one for every single class. Like I'm on a fire poison here, so my UI is like, has like flames and like green aesthetic and stuff like that. That way, like every single main is probably going to get the UI skin for their main, or maybe ability skins, right? Like, you know, I have a fire here, but what if I could change the fire color to blue or something like that, right? Now, obviously that probably is more work than just putting a price on a mag pot, right? But I do think that long term they would gain a lot of money from doing that, and it would be a way that doesn't affect your progression and everybody would just be like happy doing that. But let's say they don't want to develop anything new and they want to create something that is already making them a lot of money, right? They could do something like these Vak Pets here. You see how these Vak Pets are $100. If I'm going to pay $100 for a Vak Pet anyways, right? No matter what, it's $100. Why not make something like a Vak Pet box, like how you have the premium surprise style boxes? What if you made a Vak Pet box, and if you open the box, you are guaranteed to get a Vak Pet no matter what, right? So that way you're paying your $100, you're getting your Vak Pet no matter what. So it's not like there's a chance to get a Vak Pet, you're guaranteed. But what if there's just like a 3% chance or something of getting like a golden one or something like that? It's just like the regular Vak Pet, but it's golden. So that way it's like a shiny item. So if you really want to make money off whales, the whales are probably going to keep whaling until they get the golden Vak Pet, right? This is like very Nexon inspired. So even within their own systems, they can make more money that doesn't affect your progression. And that's what frustrates me, is because they're just going through the laziest method possible to monetize their progression. Now, I do want to know what other ideas you think they could do to make more money off of the heroic players without affecting your progression. Because at the end of the day, they will have to keep monetizing us. That's not going to go away. I'm not sitting here saying don't monetize us. They should monetize us, but they shouldn't only do it through purely progression that gives you an advantage over other people. So why did I make this video? What's the point that I'm trying to make? The point that I'm trying to make is this game's monetization is heading towards an in my opinion, a pretty dangerous path where there are many systems in the game that can dramatically increase your power over other people if you have money. Now, MVP Black is another thing that's going to come in the future as well. That's going to make the game way easier, way more quality of life for somebody who whales. This was not a thing in the past. In the heroic world, in the reboot world, this was not a thing. Now, there's a difference between wanting this to be a thing and it should be a thing. If the community at large, at the end of the day, everybody wants this to be a thing. Everybody doesn't mind that progression can be bought on the reboot world. If you don't mind that, then this is great for you. But if you're a player who decided to play on reboot because you don't want to pay for your progression, just like how it is on interactive, then in my opinion, this is very obviously an issue and should be taken very seriously. Now, what am I doing about this, right? What am I going to personally do? And what can you guys personally do? So what I'm going to personally do is I am going to pretty much not buy an X anymore. I'm not buying any of these like Luxana or Boost or boss titles. Any of those things I'm not buying anymore. I will obviously still have my Vak Pet because I do want to keep playing this game. And Vak Pet is so necessary to play the game that it's just impossible to play with that one. Like that's just what it feels like at this point. So it's like I'm going to personally just like limit the amount of money I spend on this game by a huge amount. Like I'm not going to buy a lot of these extras. I'm not going to make up stuff if I don't have to. I'm not going to skip my dailies if I don't have to or anything like that. I'm gonna buy High Mountain. If I want to do High Mountain, I'll just go do it, right? All of these little things that like save you time and pay for power, I'm not gonna buy them. I'm not gonna buy boss titles or whatever. Like I don't need those things, you know what I mean? I don't want to support that type of direction that the game is heading where you could pay for power. So that's what I'm gonna choose to do moving forward. Does this mean I'll never buy an X again? Definitely not. I probably will buy an X at some point because at the end of the day, I do really like cosmetics. I do get a lot of fun from this game and it's something that I enjoy doing, right? But certain things I'm going to limit myself a lot more on, and I think that's a pretty reasonable action to take. I think it's unreasonable to expect everybody to just be like, never spend money on an X ever again. I'm not that type of like extreme type of person unless something really fucking crazy happens. Maybe that's going to be the case in the future, but for now I'm just going to severely limit and reduce my spending to the point where like, you know, I'm not really spending on this game that much anymore. Like I'm MVP red, for example. I'm not going to maintain my MVP red status just to maintain it. Whatever, I won't get the MVPs, whatever, I won't get the 2Xs, who cares? The other thing that I'm doing is I'm making this video because I want to educate you guys and tell you guys what has been happening. Everything that I said in this video has happened. Everything I showed you is on official websites. This is not like theoretical. This is not made up. I'm strictly talking about everything that has happened and the trend that it is going towards. So this is not like a doomer video saying like it's all over, this game's gonna die, you're gonna have to start paying like thousands of dollars a month to play this game. Of course not. No, I'm just telling you everything that has happened and my thoughts on it. So what can you do? I mean, honestly, it's up to you. You guys are all adults watching this video. I know my demographics. You could do whatever you want with your money. At the end of the day, you're an adult. Take care of yourself. Do whatever you want with your money. If you want to keep spending on this game, go for it. But I'm giving you my perspective on why I don't want to keep spending on this game and why I think spending on this game is very low value for you as an individual. Even in terms of cosmetics, it's not as good anymore, and you're probably better off spending on other things in your life. But it's up to you. I'm not gonna dislike you or look at you differently if you keep wanting to whale. Like, it's just up to you. You're an adult. I don't really care that much to like press you about it. I'm just gonna do my part, and if you agree with me, you do. If you don't, then you don't, and that's totally okay. And we'll carry on, keep playing this game, and I'm gonna keep making videos and trying to have as good of a time as possible. Because at the end of the day, when you sit down in your desk, you're choosing to play MapleStory, and you want to have as good of a time as possible, or you're sitting down at your desk and you're choosing to watch my video, and I want to be a source of any amount of happiness in you guys' lives, as corny as that sounds. Anyways, with that all being said, I do appreciate you guys watching this video. I know it's a long one, but I do think it's a very important video to make. If you watched the whole thing, shout out to you, because there is a lot to take in this video. I know I yapped a lot. I know I do be yapping, but it's important yapping. So if you watch the whole thing, say the word jung, like this guy over here. Say the word jung, so I know you watched the whole thing and you're the GOAT. Appreciate you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day. Shout out to my beautiful members: Blazefire, Shooms, Shagad, Ravi Espa, Koga, Skittles, CKJ, Vampiric X, Fresh and Juicy, Kelvin, Cloud Figs, Trashbot, Henzo, Dylan, Cloudy Quesos, Jason B, Sylvester L, JA, Russell M, Mochi Teddy, Zero Sama, Shredbot, Michael R, and Suna TM. I appreciate you guys so much. If you guys ever want to submit art, put it in the Discord fan art channel, and I'll see you for the next video.